What's happening, everyone? Thanks for checking out my video. Welcome to my channel, Jersey Shore Pondscapes Videos. Today we're doing a video basically about how deep should we make our pond. Okay, we did a video a couple weeks back about what size should I make my pond. Okay, so now we're going to expand on that a little bit and talk about how deep our pond should be. So we'll look at a bunch of different arguments and you know, ways to look at this. Now, before I get started, please subscribe to the channel. I have a ton of information here. I have close to 100 videos on this channel, all about koi ponds, water gardens, waterfalls, aquatic plants, koi, you know, goldfish, pond filtration, anything and everything you can think of, pond designs, construction, the whole bit. Okay, please check it out. There's a lot of good information here for you. Also, I have a website, www.pondscapesandmore.com, and please check it out. There's a ton of videos, a ton of pictures on there. I have a lot of product information on a lot of products that I use all the time. You can purchase products on my website through affiliate links. I also have, you know, articles and reviews on the website, as well as information on attracting and feeding wild birds. It's something I like to do, and it kind of ties into the whole backyard ecosystem that you're creating with your pond. All right, adding some birds to it too is really a cool, fun thing. So please check that out. All right, so we're going to get on with the video here, talking about depth of the pond. How deep should we make it? All right. So I've heard, you know, I hear different things when I go to people's houses. Sometimes people tell me, you know, somebody told me, you know, I got to make my pond 5 or 6 feet deep. I hear that a lot. Okay, and then I have the opposite side of that, where I have clients that say, you know what, I'd really love to have a pond. I love the sound of the running water, the waterfalls. I want to get some fish, but you know, I have some little kids and I'm really concerned about them falling in, and you know, how deep can I keep the pond? All right, so we have some different, you know, approaches here. Typically what I tell people, if it's a water garden, okay, and not a koi pond, and let me just go over, in my mind, the way I think of a water garden compared to a koi pond. I think of them as two totally separate entities. A water garden is basically a pond that is featuring the plants, okay? Water lilies, lotuses, you know, marginal plants, all that kind of stuff, with some fish, right? Some fish. It definitely adds some life. It adds some fun to the pond, okay? Typically, mostly goldfish, shabunkins, fantails, black moors, orandas, maybe some golden orphs. Sometimes maybe a couple smaller koi, all right? And then we have the koi pond, okay? A pond specifically built for koi, okay? Usually, hopefully, very little to no plants in that pond. It is a koi pond. It's a pond for koi, not for plants, okay? Now, I like to make this distinction between the two because as koi get bigger, okay, 3 foot long, they become very destructive, okay? They will rip apart and tear apart a lot of the plants in your pond, especially when they're laying their eggs. Okay, but in general, they will, you know, munch on leaves on the water lilies. They will dig through the pots of your plants. That's just their nature. Okay, that's what they do. They're carp. They're bottom feeders. They're digging in the mud for worms and crustaceans and you know, whatever they can find. Okay. Now, that's not to say you can't have a pond that has goldfish, some koi, and some plants in it, and have that little happy medium, of course. But typically, I like to think of things in two different ways, all right? So for me, a water garden, all right, does not need to be so deep, okay? We're not keeping fish in it that are going to be 2 to 3 feet, okay? It's basically for plants. So let's look at what are the requirements for my plants, okay? But I want to put some fish in there. I want to have some goldfish in there, and I don't want them to die, so I want to make sure that that pond is deep enough that my fish can survive and my plants are happy, okay? So water gardens for me, typically 2 to 2.5 feet deep, all right? I use bottom drains in all my ponds, every one I build, okay? I don't put rock and gravel in the bottom of my ponds. I have videos on that stuff. Please check it out. I have a lot of information about, the arguments either way. I have always used bottom drains, gravity fed filter systems, and no rock and gravel in my pond, and that's what I do, and man, it works for me, and my ponds are beautiful, and there's not much maintenance, and they last forever. So anyway, different videos on that, but basically what I'll do, if I'm building a water garden, okay, I'm building my pond about 2 foot down on the sides. And then I'm going to angle it down to about 2.5 feet in the middle where my bottom drains sit, okay? So everything, all the sediment can come down and work its way down to the hole in the middle of the pond, the deepest part, okay? And go right down those bottom drains and right out to my filters, okay? A koi pond, typically I say 3.5 feet minimum, okay? So same thing again. A koi pond, I'm digging out 3 feet at the walls. And then I'm going down to about 3.5 feet on the bottom where my bottom drains are in the center. Okay? So 2.5 feet for a water garden, 3.5 feet for a koi pond. Now, some people, like I said, say, you got to go deeper. A koi pond's got to be 5-6 feet deep. All right. Well, first of all, we'll talk about this in a minute. But if you dig a pond out 3.5, maybe 4 feet deep, okay, and you go down inside that pond, as you're digging it out and you're down, you're going to realize that's pretty deep. That water's deep. Okay, that's a big hole. And keep in mind that the deeper you go, the more water volume you're adding. All right. 3.5 feet is plenty deep, okay, for koi to survive and thrive. Okay. To go more than 5, 6, 7 feet deep, to me now is not a pond, it's more of a pool. Now, it's not a bad thing, okay? I'm not going to tell you that, oh, don't ever dig your pond 6 foot deep. That's terrible. No, okay? But here's the thing. The deeper you go, the more volume we're adding. The more volume we're adding, the bigger and better the filtration needs to be to circulate that entire volume of water properly. All right. So what I want you to understand and see here is, just for argument's sake, let's take a pond that's 10 by 10, okay, and it's 2 feet deep. All right. Again, just throwing out numbers. Let's say it's 1,000 gallons. All right. So you're going to go out, you're going to buy a pump and filter system that's going to handle a pond for 1,000 gallons. Now, just on the side here, if my pond's 1,000 gallons, I'm not buying a 1,000-gallon filter. I'm probably buying a 2,000-gallon filter. Okay, always go bigger, always circulate more water. All right, don't just stretch your limits to being right on that borderline. Make sure your pump and filter are more than adequate enough to filter your pond. Okay, anyway, again, that's another video. But 10 by 10, 2 feet deep, 1,000 gallons. All right, now if we have that same 10 by 10 pond and we go 4 feet deep, now we're 2,000 gallons. We're twice the volume of water, but the pond is still the same size. All right. Now, instead of buying, a filter for a 1,000 gallon pond, we got to buy for a 2,000 gallon pond. And again, hopefully it's oversized, bigger anyway. But your cost on a pump and filter system for a 1,000 gallon pond, let's just say, is $2,000. Well, if you now have to buy a pump and filter system for the 2,000 gallon pond that's 4 feet deep, well, maybe instead of $2,000 filter, now you're probably $3,500 filter system. Okay, it's the same size pond. All right, so now these numbers are, again, we're just throwing it out, but let's imagine this. Okay, what if your pond is 20 by 20 and 3 feet deep? All right, you're probably 7,000 gallons. Same size pond, 6 feet deep, you're at 15,000 gallons, 14,000 gallons. You know what size filter system you're going to need to maintain that? Okay, the expense grows big time. Okay, so it's not bad that your pond is 6 feet deep, but it's the expense, okay, that's going to really increase. All right, for the same visual size pond. Now, here's the other little point I want to make about that. So no matter what the depth of your pond is, if your pond's 10 by 10, okay, and 2 feet deep, let's just say you're going to have 15 fish in it and maybe 6 plants. Okay, again, just throwing out numbers. 15 fish, 6 plants. That is what I call a bioload. Okay, that's the bioload. That's what's going to be in your pond, creating waste, okay, polluting the water, so to speak, right? And we need the filter system to handle that, okay, to remove that or handle that bioload, okay? If that same pond now is twice as deep, and like I said, we have 15 fish in the pond, if we make the pond twice as deep, are we really going to add that many more fish and that many more plants? Probably not, okay? Because visually, the pond will look the same, whether it's 2 feet deep, 3 feet deep, or 6 feet deep. So the bioload in the pond typically stays about the same, but the volume of water due to the depth really increases. So now, if we have a really deep pond, we're spending all this extra money on filtration to have the same bioload that we would have had on a pond that's less deep. Okay, so get my point. All right, we're spending a lot more money, but we're not getting that much more out of it. All right, if I want to increase the volume in my pond and increase the number of fish in my pond and increase the number of plants in my pond, well, then we need to make the pond bigger, not the depth deeper. Okay, so that's my point with that. All right. Now, so we're talking about volume of water and expense to filter it and maintain it, okay? Also keep in mind chemicals, treating that pond, okay? If we ever need to treat it for whatever, the fish get parasites, if you have a pH problem, if whatever, okay? Algae, whatever you're treating the pond for. Again, smaller pond, less volume of water, the less chemical treatments we need, okay? If our pH is off on a 1,000 gallon pond, well, maybe we can buy 1 bottle of chemical at the pond store or the aquarium store for $15, and it's plenty to treat the pond and bring our pH back to where we need to be. All right. If we have a much bigger pond with a lot more volume, well, now maybe instead of 1 bottle for $15, maybe we need 3 or 4 of them. Okay, again, just case in point. Okay. Okay, next thing is when you're digging your hole, the amount of dirt that comes out of it is much bigger than you think. All right, when your pond is set in the ground, okay, like before you dig your pond out, and you kind of visualize the size hole that you got to make and how much dirt is going to come out of there. All right, take what you visually see and times it by 2 or 3. Because when you dig that dirt up and you throw it out of the pond, you're kind of, I want to use the word like fluffing it up. So what you think comes out of the pond will actually be a pile 2 to 3 times bigger than what you anticipate. It's a lot of dirt to remove, okay? You really need to have plans for what we're doing with all this dirt. I guarantee you, if you dig a hole that's, 15 by 20 or something and 6 feet deep, man, you're gonna have a pile of dirt in your backyard. A big pile of dirt, all right? So be prepared and think about what you're gonna do with all that. So again, depth is not a bad thing, but be prepared for what comes with it, okay? And is it really necessary? Now, I've heard something, I had a big koi guy talk to me saying that, you need a deep pond because when the koi have the ability to swim upwards, they use certain muscles that they don't use when they swim sideways. And that swimming upwards helps to tone their bodies and their muscle structure and stuff and make them, more beautiful for koi shows. It may be. I'm not going to say that's not true. Maybe he knows something that I don't. Okay, but how many of us are really concerned with the taking our koi to koi shows and winning some grand champion prize? Yeah, there's some of us that do that, absolutely. Okay, but for the most part, for the average everyday pond owner, who loves their pond and wants some koi, and no, right? We just want to make a nice environment that the fish are happy and healthy. All right. Will survive a long time. Okay, so the other little thing that I want to talk about, just my last point, is depth, okay, adds security during the cold months and hot summer months. The deeper the pond is, the more volume of water we have, all right, the more stable the system is, all right, the less things can fluctuate as quickly, all right. So water temperature, right? Water temperature in the summer, we have a hot day out. If your pond is, 2 feet deep, I guarantee you that water is going to heat up, get warmer faster than if your pond is 4 or 5 feet deep. Okay? True. Winter, same thing. All right? During the winter, your ice forms on the top, because the top is the coldest. The bottom is insulated by the ground. The deeper we are, the more it's insulated, and it's warmer on the bottom than it is on top. So that's why our fish stay down on the bottom. All right. So volume adds a more stable system, okay? But let's remember that koi are naturally very accustomed to and able to adapt to wide temperature ranges in the water. Okay, they can live in 80-degree water in the summer. All right, they can live in freezing cold water in the winter. It's not like a tropical fish in your fish tank where if the temperature changes 5 to 10 degrees, they can die. Okay, koi are able to adapt to a wide range of temperatures. So having them in, a 2.5, 3 foot pond really isn't going to affect them any more than if they're in a, 5, 6 foot pond. All right. They can survive that temperature range. Okay. So it's really not something that we need to be concerned about that much. Okay. So that's just some thoughts for you, okay? Some things to think about. My arguments for, having the pond deep enough, but let's not get crazy with it. I've built some $100,000 ponds, none of which are more than, 4.5 feet deep. They don't have to be, Okay, so anyway, thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate your time. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, check out my videos. I got a ton of stuff here for you, and check out my website. Again, a lot of good stuff to do. Also, Facebook and Instagram, okay? I'm doing posts just about every day, or at least, 5 days a week. Pictures on ponds, videos on ponds and waterfalls, all kinds of good stuff. So please check it out. It's Jersey Shore Pondscapes. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye.